Good morning, students. So today we will be doing the last part of the second part of the balance of payment chapter. Here we will today study the causes of the change in the rate of foreign exchange. Rate of foreign exchange changes due to the changes in the demand and supply. Okay. Now when the rate of exchange rises, that means our currency is devalued. Domestic currency is devalued, or the value of the domestic currency has fallen down. So the exchange rate rises. But when the exchange rate falls down, that means the domestic currency has been appreciated, or the value of domestic currency has risen up. Now, the next part that we will be coming to is depreciation of domestic currency. What do you mean by depreciation of domestic currency? Okay. Depreciation of domestic currency takes place when the exchange rate rises. When the exchange rate rises, this means that the value of the domestic currency has fallen down. Suppose when the exchange rate means, what did I say? What is the exchange rate? That is $1 is suppose is equal to rupees 50. $1, for $1 we have to give rupees 50. So $1 is equal to rupees 50. This is rupees 50 is the exchange rate. Okay. Now, when this rupees 50 increases to rupees 60, when this $1 is equal to rupees 50, this rupees 50 exchange rate increases to rupees 60. That means the exchange rate has risen up. Okay, increased up. That means that the value of the domestic currency has fallen down. The value of the domestic currency has fallen down. Why? Means now we have to pay more. We have to pay more for $1. For $1 now we have to pay more in Indian currency. Devaluation of the domestic currency means now we have to pay more for $1 in terms of Indian currency. Okay. So now this means, so when the exchange rate rises, the value of the domestic currency falls down. Okay, that means we have to pay more in terms of Indian rupee for $1. Now, what are the causes of the rise in this exchange rate? Why does this exchange rate rises and the value of the domestic currency falls? It's a very basic demand and supply theory. Like, why this exchange rate is rising? Because when the demand for foreign exchange is more, but the supply of foreign exchange is less, means demand is high and supply is less. Due to excess demand, the exchange rate is rising. The exchange rate is rising because the demand for foreign exchange is more and supply is less. And thus, due to this excess demand and less supply, the foreign exchange rate is rising and our currency, that is the domestic currency, is getting devalued. Okay. Now, we will show this with the help of a diagram. Okay. Now see, this is the diagram. This is the diagram. So when the exchange rate is rising, what did I say? There is excess demand for foreign exchange reserves and there is less supply. See, when there is excess demand, the demand curve shifts to the right. So due to excess demand, the demand curve is shifting to the right. See the dotted line. Okay. And due to this, what is happening? When there is excess demand, the demand curve is shifting to the right. The new equilibrium point C, the equilibrium point is shifting from E to E1. Due to the shift in the demand, the equilibrium point is shifting from E to E1. Now, in the horizontal axis, we are measuring quantity of foreign exchange reserves. Okay. And in the vertical axis, we are measuring the exchange rate. Now, due to this increase in demand, what is happening? There is supply less. So, the exchange rate is rising. Due to increased demand, see the exchange rate is rising. Demand curve shifted to the right due to increase in demand. Exchange rate rose up because there is short in supply. The supply is short. Okay. So, due to increase in demand, the demand curve shifts to the right. New equilibrium point E1 is achieved. It shows rise in the exchange rate from R to R1 and thus the full and final thing is there is depreciation of the domestic currency due to the rise in the exchange rate. Okay. Now we will be moving to the decrease in supply part. The exchange rate is rising due to increase in demand and decrease in supply. So increase in demand, we saw that there is shift in the demand curve and we are moving to a new equilibrium with increase in the exchange rate. Now we will look to the supply part, the decreased supply, okay, which is making the exchange rate to rise up.